Today, we're going to look at a very easy mistake that you can make in Next.js, as well as a very easy solution to this mistake. So here you can see this to-do application, and I know it's a super cliche to-do application, but it will get the point across here, and it will be applicable to various CRUD applications that can definitely run into this mistake that you're going to see here. So basically, we can add the to-dos here. Right now we have to-do 1 and 3, and then we can see those reflected in my Supabase database that is connected to our app. So you can see to-do 1 and 3 in this to-do table, and I'm also using Prisma hooked up to this as well. I showed this in my previous video if you want to see how to create this kind of full stack app here. But then we also have this read-only to-dos page that shows just our to-dos, and I'll show you kind of the relevance of this here in a second. So let me show you the mistake here. So let's go ahead and add a to-do here. So I'm going to go ahead and add to-do 2. I'm going to click add to-do, and I just clicked it, but we don't see anything change here. If I go look at my database, we see after revalidated there, we do have to-do number 2 here. So the to-do is showing up in our database, but it's not showing up in our UI. So something's not getting revalidated in our UI. And what's occurring here is we need to actually call this, we could call revalidate tag as well, but we're going to use revalidatePath. So it allows you to purge cache data on demand for a specific path. So it's basically saying like, hey, let's not just return the cached data here for this page. Let's make sure to revalidate the cache to get any updates that we might have. Because if I refresh this page here, we see the to-do is automatically reloaded because that revalidates the cache, just refreshing the page. But we want to do it on demand. So after adding to-do 4 and clicking this, we don't see anything, but we see it reflected in the database here. But we want to make sure that we actually see it when the user clicks add to do. So we're going to use this revalidatePath function. It's available in both Node.js and Edge runtimes. It only invalidates the cache when the included path is next visited. This means calling revalidatePath with a dynamic route segment will not immediately trigger many revalidations at once. So that's a good thing. We don't really want that. The invalidation only happens when the path is next visited. Currently, revalidatePath invalidates all routes in client-side router cache, but it only revalidates the specific path in server-side route cache. So if we look at this Next.js app for add to do, this is just a server action that uses Prisma to add the new to do, and then same thing with delete to do. It's just a server action. So we're keeping everything server side here, and then you can see this add to do, its action for this form is this server action add to do. So we add the to do here, but really all we need to do to fix this behavior is after adding this to do, we need to call revalidatePath from Next.js. So this is a built-in function that it gives us. So we're going to import that from next/cache. We're going to call this function, and then we need to pass in the path we want to revalidate. Well, what path is that going to be here? Well, it's just going to be our home page. So we're just going to pass in the relative path here, which is just a /. So now if I come back to our app and I add to do number 5 here, and I click add to do, we see it automatically update on demand because we made sure to revalidate the path with the new data. Let's go ahead and add to do 6, click add to do, and then let's also check read only to dos. I believe we'll still see to do 6, which we do see it. So we didn't need to do like revalidatePath / to do 6. And I think that this comes back to what Next.js mentions here about invalidating all routes here. But now if I go to say delete, well, let's first, okay, we see to do 6, to do 5. Let's go ahead and just delete to do 1. So I click delete. Again, we see nothing happen here, but we do see it removed here. And that's because we also, in our server action for delete to do, we need to make sure after deleting a to do to revalidate the path here once again. So let's import that from Next.js. We'll refresh this page. Let's do to do 6. And here we see it removed right away. So now we have a much more kind of responsive UI here. And then we go add to do. And then we should see our 3 to-dos here in this to-do list as well. And the reason I have this page as well is because just to show you that we don't necessarily need to always pass in all of the paths back here. This is something that you can kind of play around with and check and make sure that your pages are getting updated correctly when you're kind of doing some CRUD with your UI on the front end, just to make sure everything works, as there might be cases to where you navigate to a different route after performing an action, and then your cache isn't getting updated for that certain route. So just something to be careful of, and especially testing it in production and making sure that all of your pages are updating correctly, because you're kind of correctly managing your cache here when you're performing CRUD on various actions on the front end. So the mistake here is not making sure to revalidate your cache and revalidating certain paths after performing certain actions and not seeing that reflected in the UI, but you are seeing it reflected in your database. And that also kind of shows a very simple solution that you can use. Now, like I said earlier, here in Next.js docs, you can see that there's also revalidate tag, which it revalidates cache data on demand for a specific cache tag. And then you can add cache tags as well to certain data. So that's another way to do it. I've personally found that this is just kind of an easier way that tends to work for my use cases pretty well, but there could be cases to where you use revalidate tag as well. So, just keep your eye out for that kind of easy mistake that you can make, and make sure that all of your pages are getting revalidated correctly after performing certain actions. So I hope this video was useful, and I will see you in that next one.